This is why fiat gets smacked about. And this is why the idea of Bitcoin would be more enticing to people.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the live, everyone. Selamat datang ke Members Live ya. Buat orang-orang yang baru jadi members, welcome to the live. Aku bakal ngasih tahu hari ini tentang big banks. Bank-bank besar are failing ya. Bank-bank besar ada kemungkinan bakal fail atau setidaknya secara historical it's not looking good. Alright, kita langsung mulai aja yuk. Ke the main attraction of the day ya. The main attracciones of the day, yaitu video dari si Traders Reality. The one and only, ya. Kita mulai ya. Ini dari Traders Reality. Apakah market bakal turun dengan, bisa dibilang dengan kepastian tinggi lah setelah Fed pivot. Okay?
We go to the 2-year bonds market, you can see that the 2-year right now is at around 3.89%. Always pay attention to the yields, because the higher the yields go, the worse it is for the stock market, the less likely Bitcoin's going to keep climbing higher, right? But we're at 3.89% right now for the 2-year. Going into the 10-year bond market, you can see the yield right there is starting to climb up, which is 3.879%, which at the same token takes you over to the 10-year bonds, and you can see that the bonds are actually trading negatively. But then when we go over to the NASDAQ and the S&P, they're trading positively. So what does that tell you? It tells you that investors are right now thinking, you know what? Let's get some high risk. Nvidia has made life a little bit easier for us with the great news of their earnings results. All right, they had a bit of a problem with this Blackwell design story, but that's nothing that they can't actually resolve anyway. So the idea is investors are seeking high risk because they're not interested in going into the bonds market, which is why the 10-year bond yield is starting to climb. So the government right now is effectively offering a greater rate of return for investing in the US bonds. So that means investors are trying to be induced by the US government to give us your money so that we can put it to work. But it doesn't look like they're getting the attention, which is why the yields are moving up.
Oke, jadi gue mau translate sedikit ya. Dia di intro ini dia ngasih tahu kalau S&P 500 lagi naik. Meanwhile, the 2-year bond yield itu bunga, itu dia, interest ya, bunga itu di 3,8% ya. Di ini mana 2-year ya tadi ya. Ya ini 2-year bond. Jadi kalau lu lock for 2 years, lu dapat bunga 3,8%. Terus kalau 10-year itu 3,87. Jadi tapi ini mulai naik nih. Ya kan, bond market yang 10 tahun sama lu lock 10 tahun dengan lu lock 2 tahun itu interestnya sama ya. Dimana semuanya lagi trending turun tapi sekarang lagi naik sedikit. Tapi that's not enough. Gara-gara kalau dibandingin dengan pasar saham ya S&P 500 turun, Nasdaq ya, turun, naik dengan asumsi people are starting to favor riskier assets kayak saham. Oke? Ngerti ya? Jadi karena orang-orang lebih interested ke pasar saham, lebih interested ke riskier assets, yields-nya, bond yield, obligasi, pasar obligasi ini, itu kan dikontrol sama government kan, pemerintah. Pemerintah lihat kayak, oh kok dikit banget yang invest ke pasar obligasi ya? Ya udahlah, kita naikin aja yield-nya. Dinaikin buat meng-attract lagi orang-orang yang mau invest di pasar obligasi lagi, instead of di pasar saham. Lanjut.
So now we know where we are with that aspect of the marketplace. Let's now get into the main story on what we really need to be paying attention to. Now listen, with this story here, guys, all right? You've got to just consider where we were, what happened after, and why history is always going to repeat itself. And if it doesn't, it bloody well rhymes.
Ini penting ya, dia ngasih tahu kalau history, itu sejarah itu biasanya mengulang. Kalau nggak mengulang 100%, itu nge-rhyme, ya. Jadi mirip tapi nggak 100%. Biasanya kayak gitu, selalu ya. Nah sekarang kita masuk ke main point yang gue mau kasih tahu kalian.
With the program, does anybody know about the 2018 crash? Let me put it into perspective for you. Let's go to the S&P. Here was the S&P around the 2018 crash. Here we are. It was this. This whole story right here was the 2018 crash. All right. What was going on at that time? Well, we had a little bit of political uncertainty because it was around the time when Donald Trump was like causing a few issues with China. All right. There was that trade war story. Okay. You had the inflation, you know, unemployment was all over the place. This move to the upside was when the stock market was around the all-time highs. Yeah. Which led to this drop to the downside. So what was the causing factor of it? Check this out. This article was created in March 2019. US banks report $251 billion worth of unrealized losses on securities investments in 2018, the most since 2008. Okay? Here is the image that you want to be paying attention to. Look at this. That's $252 billion worth of losses. All right? 2018.
Oke, gue stop di situ. Ini ini chart ya. Itu unrealized gains and losses by the way on investment securities ya. Ini yang dipegang bank. Jadi bank itu kan punya hak untuk pakai duit kita semua untuk dimasukin ke manapun lah, dimasukin ke diputer mau gimana pun juga. Nah, so far 2008, 2009, ini kan 2008 resesi, 2009, 2010 naik. Sekarang aja nih, atau bukan sekarang sih, 2018 unrealized losses dari banks total of 252 miliar dolar. Oke? Pay attention to this graph, nanti bakal muncul lagi di depan.
Alright? 2018. Now let's just go back into the chart for a split second to understand where we were on that declaration. Okay? The article came out in March 2019, so that puts us over here. So the article is old, and it was after the event. But look at the build-up towards it. In the article, it goes on to say that the net income in Q4 2018, among all the 5,406 FDIC-insured banks, their exposure was in the numbers. Look at this. Every quarter in 2018 brought steep and realized losses. Q1, 55 billion. Q2, 66 billion. Q3, 84 billion. And Q4, 46 billion. Okay?
Nah, yang gue mau kasih tahu nih, jadi di tahun 2018, itu di quarter 1, banks lose atau lost ya, 55 miliar dolar. Quarter 2, nambah lagi 66 miliar dolar. Quarter 3, nambah lagi 84 miliar dolar. Quarter 4, nambah lagi 46 miliar dolar via di FDIC. Ini official ya. Net income quarter 4 2018 among 5.400 FDIC insured banks. Bank lo ya, FDI insured banks and thrifts more than double year over year to $59 billion due to higher net operating revenue and lower income tax expenses. And full year net income rose 44% to 237 billion. Agak dalam ya, agak membosankan, tapi bear with me. So basically, 252 miliar itu unrealized losses sejak tahun 2008. Gue mau skip saat dia ngejelasin quarter 1, quarter 2 ya. Nah, kita masuk lagi di sini.
To the charts on the S&P, and let's just highlight where September was, okay? So September, you've got August, and then you've got September, which is where the stock market was at the all-time highs. At around that time itself, you can see that the quarter losses started to escalate from quarter 1, so at the start of the year. But then you look at the chart, you can see that they were just powering into the marketplace. And if we don't know anything about smart money and dumb money, we can go over to this chart over here and say to ourselves, all right, hold on a second, what was going on? How is it that the banks were losing money, yet assets across the board were appreciating? So if you look at this larger chart right here, you then say to yourself, hold on, what was going on in 2018? Now, I don't think I can go all the way that far. Here we go. 2018. So this is where, in principle, the 2018 crash came about, this little area here, right? When the blue line is aggressively up, or it's moving up, it suggests that smart money, in principle, is selling. When it comes down, it suggests that smart money is buying, okay? Now, as it's moving up, you can see that dumb money, which is the red line right here, it was higher than what smart money was. So that meant that retail was buying up all of the monies that were, or the assets that smart money was selling. Now, when we go back into the article, it says that quarter 3 was 84 billion. And then, of course, quarter 4 was 46 billion. Go back into the chart on the S&P, and you can see that quarter 3, which was September, this is where we were, where the stock market made an all-time high. Now, we already knew that the banks were in unrealized loss.
Menarik ya. Nih penting nih. Kata kunci juga penting. Stock market S&P 500 made all-time highs. Okay? Made all-time highs. Okay? Mereka, ya, quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, dan quarter 4, itu loss. Jadi, mulai dari quarter 1, itu mereka udah loss. Udah sitting in unrealized losses. Tapi, saham makin naik. Saham makin naik aja. Saham makin naik malah bikin all-time highs. Ya, ini kan belum ada kan saat itu kan. Jadi, tutup aja nih semua ini. Tutup aja sampai sini. Saham makin naik, quarter 4 bikin all-time high. Meanwhile, quarter 4, mereka sitting at 252 miliar dolar in unrealized losses. Oke, lanjut. Ini udah mulai spicy ya.
Go back into the chart on the S&P, and you can see that quarter 3, which was September, this is where we were, where the stock market made an all-time high. Now, we already knew that the banks were in unrealized losses because quarter 1 was 55 billion, quarter 2 was 66 billion, quarter 3 came in at 84 billion, and the stock market was at an all-time high. Then we start going into the actual quarter 4, which the reality of it all, and all tensions that were happening overseas, and all political problems, and problems with China, that effectively led the stock market to just take a slump to the downside, which in principle led to all these unrealized losses, in principle, getting washed. Now, listen, these are unrealized. That means they would have had to have closed them, but you can appreciate that they had no other choice but to get rid of them because people started to cotton on to what was going on, which effectively led to the collapse of this stock market crash.
Sebelum kita masuk ke part 2, which is the part apa yang lagi kita experience sekarang di makroekonomi, oke? Jadi kita to summarize sebelum kita masuk ke ini dua ya, sebelum kita masuk ke part 2. Nomor satu, unrealized profits dan losses banks itu lagi all time low, malah minus ratusan miliar. Nomor 2, saham S&P 500 lebih tepatnya baru nge-reach all time high. Ya, dua itu harus di-pair. Ya, sebelum drop ke bawah. Ngerti?
People started to cotton on to what was going on, which effectively led to the collapse of this stock market crash.
Ujung-ujungnya ada collapse besar-besaran, multi-months.
Now let's jump forward to where we are today.
Pay attention, ini data sekarang.
This is where we are right now. Look at it, man. This was 2018, and it led to that crash, right? Okay, hold on, Tino, hold on. This is 2024, right? Where are we? We're at all-time highs.
Oke. Jadi ini kemarin ya, ini tahun 2018. Ini tahun 2018. Dimana cuma 1, 2, 3 quarter doang loh. Note ya, 3 quarter doang dan crash besar-besaran dari 2.800 dan 2.900-an lah ke 2.300. Dan ini buat pasar saham tuh tinggi banget loh. Crash besar. Karena kan market cap-nya kan gede banget ya. Ini kan semua saham, 500 saham yang di track. Ini kan indeks ya. Jadi turun $200 aja, turun 10%-nya udah market udah panik. Ya kan? Ingat, dan kembali lagi, ini 4 quarter. 1, 2, 3, 4. Artinya 1 tahun. Ya. 4 quarter. Unrealized losses. Ini sekarang. Ini, itu berapa quarter? Kita hitung. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 quarter, bank udah ngecetak unrealized losses. Sejak 2021 kayaknya nggak pernah recover ya, kelihatannya begitu ya. Dan yang tadi gue bilang harus ada dua indikator nih yang harus kita lihat. Nomor 1 adalah unrealized losses yang besar. Nomor 2 adalah saham dekat all time high. Saham sekarang lagi ngapain? Kita ke S&P. Would you look at that? All time highs.
So there's way more losses right now. Okay, nearly 675 billion on loss.
675 miliar dolar. Dibanding dengan 2018 kita cuma punya 252 unrealized losses. Ini hampir 3 kali lipatnya.
Wait a second, here we go. Total unrealized losses is 516 billion.
Oh itu.
High interest rates. Okay. The instability of the Japanese in the sense where any minute now they could say, you know what, we want to increase our interest rates. We need to protect our economy. So we've got that hovering, right? Inflation. We don't know if inflation is going to maintain its trend to the downside. We've got unemployment. You've got a stellar stock that's holding up people's hopes that everything's going to be good. But ultimately, you've got one stock that everyone is buying, that everyone then is selling. Herd mentality will effectively then come to fruition. Because people will automatically think that they're already late to the party. So then that's where you'd anticipate Nvidia to start pulling back because investors are in principle getting a bit concerned about things.
Oke, gue mau summarize apa yang dia ngomong ya. Di kasus sekarang, kita ada unemployment rates yang semakin tinggi. Orang makin susah nyari kerja. Harga rumah sekarang lagi all time high di Amerika. Next, Jepang. Itulah kenapa gue rekomen banget kalian semua ya untuk nonton playlist ini dari awal sampai akhir sih. Karena kapan ya? Ini bertahap. Mana playlistnya? Nah ini bertahap nih. Jadi teori paling bullish Jepang jadi kambing hitam ini sama crash baru masuk ke sini. Jadi Jepang bisa cut interest kapan aja, ya kan? Dan yang paling penting lah basically sekarang yaitu 18 September cut rates, ya. Apakah interestnya bakal setinggi atau apa tadi dibilang?
Now they could say our
Sorry,
economy.
biar gua nggak salah ya.
So we've got that inflation. We don't know if inflation's going to maintain its trend to the downside.
Ya, inflation masih bakal turun trennya atau enggak nih? Karena cut rates kan ini kan very very important untuk semuanya. Ya, lanjut ya.
Got a stellar stock that's holding.
Nvidia tadi ya, Nvidia salah satu stock yang outperforming hampir semua stock in this year, ya, this year. Gara-gara earningsnya bagus banget kemarin dan ini basically Nvidia itu sendiri ya, itu menaikkan harapan semua orang itu kalau kita stock market S&P itu bakal up only.
This is not to scaremonger you. This is to get you to realize that why back in 2018 this created this and why does this not bother anyone?
Itu dia yang gue mau kasih tahu video ini yang dia ngomongin secara baik ya. Tahun 2018 itu kita ada crash sebesar ini. Banks losing their minds. Tapi mereka nggak bisa private gara-gara mereka publicly traded banks. Ya, atau setidaknya mereka harus declare everything ke public. Ya. Karena itu ini nge-spill out. Kan ada pepatah ya. If you cannot trust banks ya. Kalau kalian nggak bisa percaya bank-bank besar kayak kalau Indonesia BCA. Kalau kalian nggak bisa percaya BCA, yang bank paling besar Indonesia, semua ekonomi itu runtuh gara-gara mayoritas duit orang itu ada di bank. Yang gue mau kasih tahu ke kalian ya, ini itu running behind the scenes. Ini itu problem yang jauh lebih besar daripada 2018 dan jauh lebih lama, jauh lebih panjang. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 quarter of unrealized profits sebanyak 516 miliar dolar, malah lebih dari 2 kali lipatnya 2018, dan orang-orang masih kayak bilang kayak saham tuh up only. Saham tuh cuman up only. Sama kayak yang kemarin gue bilang ya, S&P 500 bakal crash. Sesuai banget sama yang teori ini. Sekaligus gara-gara kalau ini sesuai, teori yang paling pertama juga left translated cycle juga bakal sesuai juga. Ya, which is very very depressing ya kalau lu pikir-pikir baik-baik ya. Nih, gue mau kasih tau sekali lagi ya. Saat Q1 orang-orang pada nggak tahu. Orang bank-bank pada diam-diam aja. Karena kalau Q1 udah langsung kelihatan bank minus 55 miliar. Waduh, ya udah, orang-orang udah pada langsung cepat-cepat cabut duitnya dari bank lah dan lain-lain, dari saham dan lain-lain. Bank juga panik, cut loss secara massal. Dari segini jadi segini, bayangin. Mereka ini bukannya menurun ya. Mana ada saham turun, unrealized losses juga menurun. Enggak, unrealized losses harusnya makin naik. Tapi ini menurun gara-gara bank udah lihat kalau orang-orang udah pada tahu. Jangan sampai kita nanti quarter 4 segini, quarter 5 segini, quarter 6 segini, makin besar aja. Orang-orang makin bakal lose keyakinan ke bank. Dan itu not a very good thing ya. Maka dari itu, kenapa sekarang nggak ada yang ngomongin? Sesuai sama yang 2018 kemarin, yang di sini, all time highs juga. Tapi setelahnya besok crash. Crash ini ya, bisa datang kapan aja. Dan bisa datang tiba-tiba. Indikator paling baik deh, gue kemarin udah ngasih tahu di Twitter. Warren Buffett baru menjual 981 juta dolar di pasar saham. As we know, Warren Buffett itu orang yang selalu melakukan jualan ya. Selalu jualan sebelum resesi. Indikator resesi Amerika udah mulai menyala.
This not bother anyone.
Iya, nggak ada yang tahu, nggak ada yang kayak, oh my god, kita harus melakukan sesuatu. Diam-diam aja orang-orang. Karena lack of information. Tapi siapa yang tahu? Yang barusan jual kripto. Siapa yang barusan jual kripto? Black, lihat aja. Fidelity jual 12 juta, Bitwise 16, ARK Invest jual 65, Grayscale jual 70 juta, total 175 juta kalau kita totalin 4 hari terakhir. Apa yang kita lihat? Hampir lebih dari 500 juta. Apakah ini gara-gara didorong? Kalau ini muncul, kalau this is not getting better anytime soon. Semakin lama orang-orang tahu ini, ya, semakin juga orang-orang lose hope juga untuk stock market.
I forgot to mention Fed pivot. So
Fed pivot, yeah.
You have the market at an all-time high. Okay? You've got a Fed pivot pending. You've got inflation. You've got unemployment. The Federal Reserve is toying against whether we should cut interest rates or not. You got banks in silly unrealized losses, which means if they don't close it, they don't lose. But if the economic output is not being put into play, there's going to be a bit of a problem with these unrealized losses. Ain't going to be looking too good on your bank statements. Ain't going to be looking too good for your bank shareholders. And what are they going to do? They're going to only do one thing, and that is protect themselves. And that's when they start going into safe havens, like the dollar and the yen. This is why fiat gets smacked about. And this is why the idea of Bitcoin would be more enticing to people. The reality is that the sleeping crash, in my opinion, is starting. This is where Bitcoin can show its worth.
Itulah, itu makanya ini sebagai kalimat penutup ya. Bitcoin itu belum pernah melewati resesi. Dimana inilah saatnya, bisa gue simpulin dari semua video ini ya. Datanya udah ada, historical data mengatakan kalau saham tuh bakal turun. Ingat loh, histori kan sejarah kan nggak 100% mengulang, tapi biasanya nge-rhyme. Jadi mirip-mirip, ada mirip-mirip nih, tapi nggak 100% bakal crash. Bisa aja kayak gitu. Bisa aja kayak mini crash, atau crashnya cepet doang, atau malah nggak crash sama sekali, cuman sideways aja. Inilah dimana Bitcoin ini bakal dites at the maximum stress ya. Kalau saat S&P lagi down, kalau Nasdaq lagi down, kalau ini lagi down, kalau itu lagi down, kalau ini itu lagi down, dan semuanya pada ke safe haven yang tadi dia bilang. Nah, Bitcoin ini pasar baru, ya kan? Bitcoin belum pernah ketemu resesi, ya. Tapi Bitcoin cycle ini nggak ada yang bisa deny. Bitcoin ini injakan atau genggaman Wall Street ini besar sekali, ya, besar sekali. Nah, the question is, apakah orang-orang ini bisa melihat the true value of Bitcoin ini? Atau malah sebaliknya, apakah orang-orang bakal malah ngikutin sentimen pasar makro sih? Jadi gue mau ngulang sekali lagi, kalian dengerin baik-baik. Di banks sekarang nggak mungkin nyari aset yang lain ya. Gara-gara mereka udah into deep in unrealized losses. Boro-boro mereka invest ke Bitcoin, bank-bank gini. Boro-boro mereka udah rugi besar banget di asetnya mereka, dan mereka lihat, mereka siap jual nih, available for sale kan securities. Dan alangkah baiknya kalau data ini ditutupin, alangkah baiknya kalau banks dan lain-lain, media moguls dan lain-lain nge-push ke retail kalau saham bakal all time high, saham bakal all time high, saham bakal all time high, dengan agenda apa? Dengan agenda bang, semua ini di sell off, biar apa? Biar unrealized losses-nya semakin kecil ya. Kalau gue bisa gambarin ya, kita bisa lihat nih, ini kan nge-peak di daerah 2022 2023, habis itu sekarang udah mulai menurun nih. Are they selling? Apalagi saat saham lagi all time high. Ya, alangkah baiknya lagi kalau seandainya mereka bisa sell at the highest all time high sebelum publik itu tahu kalau kita udah 9 bulan. Bank-bank ini udah 9 bulan sitting in unrealized losses. The only participant yang beli saat harganya lagi hijau, saat harganya lagi naik, itu retail. Dan right now, big banks sekarang lagi butuh banget retail untuk naikin harga, ya. Big banks lagi butuh banget untuk naikin harga, untuk meng-ease off all of these unrealized profits. Karena kalau nggak di-ease, kita bakal dapat pengulangan kayak 2018. Bisa aja, kembali lagi, crashnya 2 kali lebih besar dibanding dengan 2018. Tadi 2008, bukan 2018 ya maksud gue. Ya, that's all for tonight ya. I'll see you in the next live members ya. Take care semuanya. Bye-bye.